The rain tapped softly against the window pane of my tiny apartment, like hesitant fingers seeking permission to enter. It was one of those autumn evenings where the world outside blurred into grays and muted browns, the kind that made memories rise unbidden, carrying the faint scent of damp earth and forgotten promises. I sat there in my worn armchair, the fabric frayed at the edges from years of quiet evenings alone, holding a cup of chamomile tea that had long gone cold, my hands spotted with age and the faint scars of a life spent grading papers and wiping tears, trembled slightly as I stared at the photograph on the side table. It was Jacob, my only son, smiling broadly on the day he graduated college, his arm around my shoulder, his eyes full of that boyish gratitude I'd clung to like a lifeline.
Sometimes, it's not the thunderous betrayals that shatter us, but the quiet ones, the ones that creep in like shadows lengthening at dusk. They don't announce themselves with drama. They whisper, eroding the foundations we've built with our own hands. As I set the cup down, the porcelain clinking softly against the saucer, a wave of ache washed over me, not sharp, but deep, like the pull of an old wound in changing weather. How had it come to this? A mother pouring her heart into her child's future, only to find the door to that future locked against her. The question lingered in the air, heavy and unspoken, drawing me back to where it all began, to the choices that seemed so right at the time, yet now felt like echoes of a distant, naive self. It started 5 years ago, after Harold passed. My husband had been the steady anchor in our little family, a quiet man who fixed leaky faucets and read the newspaper with a furrowed brow, always making sure the bills were paid on time. Cancer took him swiftly, leaving me adrift in our modest home that suddenly felt too empty, too echoing with his absence. I was 53 then, still teaching 3rd grade at the elementary school down the block, shaping young minds with stories of history and simple math equations. But the grief was a fog that wouldn't lift, clouding my days and stealing my nights. Jacob, my boy, 32 at the time, with his father's sharp jaw and my soft eyes, called every evening those first months. "Mom, how are you holding up?" he'd ask, his voice warm through the phone line, a balm against the chill of loneliness. He and Emily lived in a cramped rental across town, dreaming of a house with a yard for the children they hoped to have someday. "We've been looking, but prices are insane," he'd say, and I'd hear the frustration edging his words. One night, as I sorted through Harold's old financial papers, I found the life insurance payout, modest but enough to spark an idea. Why not help them? Harold and I had always talked about leaving something for Jacob, a leg up in this unforgiving world. I sold our house, the one filled with decades of laughter and arguments, and moved into a small apartment that smelled faintly of mothballs and previous tenants' lives. The savings from the sale, combined with my retirement nest egg, totaled just over $100,000. It was everything I had, scraped together from years of scrimping on vacations and new clothes. "Jacob, what if I helped you buy that house?" I said during one of our calls, my heart pounding with a mix of excitement and fear. There was a pause on the other end. Then his voice broke with emotion. "Mom, you mean it? That would change everything." We met at a coffee shop the next day, the aroma of fresh brews mingling with the buttery scent of pastries. He hugged me tightly, his arms strong and reassuring. "You'll always have a room with us, Mom, for your golden years. Promise." The house they chose was a charming 2-story colonial on a quiet cul-de-sac with white shutters and a front porch perfect for rocking chairs. I wired the money, watching the numbers dwindle in my bank account, but feeling a glow of purpose. This was my legacy, my way of keeping Harold's spirit alive through our son. Emily sent pictures as they moved in, Jacob painting the nursery a soft blue, even though no baby was on the way yet. "Your room's all set, Miriam," she texted, with a photo of a cozy space overlooking the garden, a quilt I'd sewn years ago draped over the bed. Life settled into a rhythm. I'd visit on weekends, bringing homemade casseroles that filled their kitchen with the savory warmth of onions and herbs. Jacob would tease me about my teacher habits, how I organized their pantry alphabetically. But his laughter was genuine, his eyes crinkling at the corners. Emily and I would sip tea on the porch, talking about her job at the library, her dreams of writing a children's book. It felt like family, like the pieces of my broken world were mending. But cracks appeared slowly, almost imperceptibly at first. Birthdays came and went, mine that is. A quick text from Jacob, "Happy birthday, Mom, busy day at work." No card, no call. I'd brush it off, telling myself he was building his life. Then the requests started. "Mom, the roof needs repairs, unexpected expense. Could you spot us a few thousand?" Guilt twisted in my gut. How could I say no? I'd sacrificed so much already. What was a little more? Each transfer felt like a thread pulling tighter, binding me to their happiness. One evening, after a particularly long day at school, where a student's tearful confession about home troubles had left me drained, Jacob called. "Mom, Emily's pregnant, but we need to update the nursery. Furniture's outdated." Joy mingled with a faint unease as I agreed to help again. The baby arrived, a beautiful girl named Lily, with Jacob's curls and Emily's dimples. I held her in the hospital, the soft weight of her in my arms stirring memories of rocking Jacob as an infant. "She's perfect," I whispered, tears blurring my vision. Yet, as months turned to years, the visits grew sparse. My calls went to voicemail more often. "Sorry, Mom, chaotic here with the baby." When I did go over, I'd notice small things. My room's door closed, boxes stacked inside. "Just storage for now," Jacob said offhandedly. The guilt-tripping escalated subtly. "You know, Mom, if you hadn't sold the old house, we'd have more space." His words stung, but I'd apologize, promise to interfere less. Then came the health scare. It was a Tuesday morning, the classroom buzzing with children's chatter as I explained fractions. A sharp pain bloomed in my chest, my vision spotting black. The school nurse called an ambulance. Tests revealed a minor arrhythmia, nothing fatal, but a wake-up call. "Take it easy, Miriam," the doctor said, his voice kind but firm. "Stress can exacerbate these things." Shaken, I drove to Jacob's house unannounced, craving the comfort of family. The familiar driveway welcomed me, leaves crunching under my tires. I knocked, but no answer. Fumbling for the spare key under the mat. Gone. Confused, I rang the doorbell. Footsteps approached, and the door cracked open. Jacob's face appeared, not with concern, but irritation. "Mom, what are you doing here?" I had a scare at work, hospital visit. I just needed to see you all." My voice trembled, the words spilling out. He sighed, stepping outside and pulling the door shut behind him. The lock clicked softly, a sound that echoed in my soul. "Look, Mom, this isn't a good time. Emily's got a migraine, Lily's napping." His eyes avoided mine, shifting to the street. "But Jacob, You always drop in unannounced. It's burdensome. You interfere too much." The word burdensome landed like a slap, cold and final. "And we've rented out your room. Extra income, you know. Times are tough." Rented out? My room? The one promised for my golden years? The world tilted, the porch railing cool under my gripping hand. "But I paid for this house. Everything I had." He shrugged, a gesture so casual it broke something inside me. "You gave it to us. It's ours now." The door closed, the lock turning with a definitive snick.
I stood there, rain beginning to fall in earnest, soaking through my coat. The scent of wet pavement rose, mingling with the bitter taste of betrayal. How had I not seen it? The manipulations, the slow erosion of my place in his life. Driving home, tears blurred the road, each sob a release of years held back. That night, in my dim apartment, I pulled out old bank statements, the papers crisp under my fingers. Transfers totaling over $120,000 now, with the extras I'd sent. My savings depleted, retirement a distant dream. Anger simmered, but beneath it, a deeper hurt, the realization of my own patterns. Raised by distant parents who valued achievement over affection, I'd learned to please, to give until empty, hoping for love in return. The next day, I made an appointment with a therapist. Dr. Ellis, a gentle woman with silver hair and knowing eyes, listened as I poured out my story. "Miriam, this sounds like classic people-pleasing rooted in childhood neglect," she said softly. "You've been seeking validation through sacrifice." Sessions unraveled me thread by thread. Memories surfaced. My mother's cold shoulder when I brought home less than perfect grades. My father's absence at school events. I'd vowed to be different with Jacob, but in overcompensating, I'd lost myself. Emboldened, I consulted a lawyer. "You have a case for partial ownership or reimbursement," he said, reviewing the documents. "Gifts with implied conditions can be contested, especially with evidence of manipulation." Jacob's response was swift and vicious. Rumors spread through our small circle, old friends calling to check on my instability, whispers of me being overly dramatic. It hurt, like salt in an open wound, but I held firm. The mediation loomed like a storm cloud on the horizon, scheduled for a crisp November morning in a nondescript office building downtown. I dressed carefully that day, choosing a simple wool dress in navy blue. The color Harold always said brought out my eyes. My hands shook as I fastened the buttons, the fabric soft against my skin, a small armor against the vulnerability ahead. Dr. Ellis's words echoed in my mind. "Own your truth, Miriam. It's not about revenge, it's about reclaiming your voice." Jacob arrived with Emily, their lawyer, a sharp-suited man with a clipboard and no warmth in his smile. My son avoided my gaze, fiddling with his phone, while Emily shifted uncomfortably, her eyes darting to Lily's photo on her lock screen. The mediator, a middle-aged woman named Miss Harper, greeted us with professional neutrality, her voice calm like still water. "Let's aim for understanding today," she gestured to the conference table where coffee steamed in styrofoam cups, the bitter aroma filling the room. We sat, the chairs creaking under our weight, and the air grew thick with unspoken accusations. My lawyer presented the bank records first, neat stacks of printouts showing every transfer, every loan that was never repaid. My client provided the down payment and subsequent funds under the verbal agreement of residency rights, he stated, his tone measured. Jacob leaned forward, his face flushing. "It was a gift, Mom. You said so yourself." His voice cracked slightly, a hint of the boy I raised, peeking through but quickly masked by defensiveness. "And now you're suing, after all we've been through." I took a deep breath, the scent of the room's stale carpet grounding me. "Jacob, it wasn't just money. It was my future, too. You promised me a place there." My words hung in the air, fragile yet firm. He scoffed, glancing at Emily for support. "You're exaggerating. And frankly, Mom, your visits were overwhelming. Constant advice, rearranging things. We needed space." Overwhelming. The word twisted in my chest. I remembered the times I'd bitten my tongue, holding back opinions to avoid conflict. But Dr. Ellis had prepared me. She said, "Show them the evidence." With trembling fingers, I played the voicemails on my phone, the speaker crackling to life. Jacob's voice filled the room. "Mom, we really need that extra cash for the car. You wouldn't want us struggling, right?" Another, Come on, it's Lily's birthday. Don't be selfish. The guilt woven into each message was palpable now, exposed in the harsh light of the conference room. Miss Harper's eyebrows rose, her pen pausing mid-note. Emily looked down, her cheeks paling. Jacob shifted, mumbling, "That was just family stuff." "Family doesn't exploit," I said softly, meeting his eyes for the first time. Tears welled, not from weakness, but from the raw truth of it. "I gave because I loved you, Jacob, but love shouldn't cost everything." The room fell silent, save for the distant hum of traffic outside. My lawyer pushed forward with emails and texts, building a timeline of manipulation. Jacob's counters crumbled, his rumors of my instability refuted by medical records showing only the arrhythmia, managed now with medication and therapy. By the end, an agreement was reached. Partial reimbursement, $80,000 returned over time, acknowledging my contributions without full ownership transfer. It wasn't everything, but it was validation. As we signed the papers, the pen heavy in my hand, Jacob whispered, "I'm sorry, Mom, I didn't realize." I nodded, but the words felt distant. Walking out into the crisp air, leaves swirling at my feet like scattered thoughts, a weight lifted. Not forgiveness yet, that would come slowly, but freedom. With the settlement, I bought a small condo by the lake. Nothing grand, but mine. The walls were fresh white, waiting for my touch. I unpacked boxes of books and mementos, the scent of new paint mingling with the faint vanilla of candles I lit each evening. Therapy continued, peeling back layers of neglect from my childhood, teaching me boundaries like invisible fences protecting my heart. One afternoon, browsing online, I found a support group for elders facing family exploitation. The first meeting was in a community center, the room warm with the aroma of fresh coffee and donuts. Women and men, faces etched with similar stories, shared in hushed tones. "I gave my daughter everything, only to be shut out," one said, her voice quivering. I nodded, sharing my own tale, the words flowing easier now. Friendships bloomed there. Eleanor, a retired nurse with a wicked sense of humor, became my walking companion along the lake path. We'd stroll as the sun dipped low, painting the water in oranges and pinks, talking about regrets and rebirths. "Life's too short for doormats," she'd say, her laughter carrying on the breeze. Inspired, I started writing, memoirs at first, scribbled in a leather journal Harold had given me years ago. The pages filled with reflections, the joy of teaching, the ache of loss, the sting of betrayal. Words became my therapy, each sentence a step toward healing. A local writing group welcomed me, their feedback gentle, encouraging. "Your voice is so real," one member said, and I felt a spark of pride I hadn't known in years. Travel called next. I'd always dreamed of seeing the Grand Canyon, but Harold's health had kept us close to home. Now, with savings rebuilt, I booked a solo trip. The flight was nerve-wracking, my hands gripping the armrests as the plane lifted, but landing in Arizona brought a rush of exhilaration. Standing at the rim, the vast chasm stretching before me in layers of red and gold, wind whipping my hair, I felt small yet alive. The sun warmed my skin, the air crisp with pine, and tears came unbidden, not of sorrow, but of awe. "This is from me," I whispered to the void. Back home, Jacob reached out tentatively. A card for my birthday, a call to check in. Wounds don't heal overnight, but bridges can be mended with time. I set boundaries, visits planned, no more financial pleas. He seemed to understand, perhaps changed by the mediation's mirror.
As winter wrapped the world in quiet white, I delved deeper into my new life, each day a deliberate choice towards self-assurance. The condo became a sanctuary, adorned with photos from my travels, me smiling against the canyon's edge, a seashell from a spontaneous beach trip to Florida. The support group evolved into a circle of confidants. We'd gather for potlucks, sharing stories over steaming soups and crusty bread, the flavors comforting as the conversations. One evening, Eleanor pulled me aside, her eyes sparkling. "Miriam, have you thought about publishing your memoirs? Your story could help so many." The idea terrified and thrilled me. I spent nights revising, the keyboard clicking softly under lamplight, words pouring out like long-held breaths. Childhood neglect surfaced vividly. My mother's stern face as she prioritized her bridge club over my school plays, my father's distant nods from behind his newspaper. I'd internalized it all, becoming the giver, the pleaser, fearing abandonment if I asked for anything in return. Therapy with Dr. Ellis uncovered more. "Your relationship with Jacob mirrored that pattern," she said, her office cozy with throw pillows and the ticking clock. "You gave to earn love, but true love doesn't demand sacrifice." Sessions left me raw, but stronger, like a tree shedding dead branches to grow. The climax of my transformation came unexpectedly. Jacob invited me for dinner, an olive branch, he called it. I arrived at the house I'd helped buy, the porch light glowing warmly against the dusk. Inside, the familiar scents of roast chicken and garlic greeted me, stirring nostalgia. Lily, now a toddler with boundless energy, toddled over, her tiny hands reaching up. "Gamma!" she squealed, and my heart melted as I scooped her up, her curls tickling my cheek. Dinner was tense at first, conversations skirting the past like fragile ice. Emily complimented my new haircut. Jacob asked about my writing, but as dessert, apple pie, my recipe, was served, the dam broke. "Mom, I was wrong," Jacob said, his fork pausing midair. "I took advantage. The money, the room. I was stressed, but that's no excuse." Tears pricked my eyes, the pie's cinnamon warmth contrasting the cool truth. "It hurt, Jacob, deeply. I felt discarded, like all those years meant nothing." He nodded, eyes glistening. "I spread those rumors to deflect. I was ashamed." Emily reached for his hand, her own voice soft. "We both were. We're in counseling now, working on it." The admission hung there, a bridge across the chasm. Forgiveness isn't a switch. It's a process, layered like the snow outside. I shared my therapy insights, the support group, my travels. "I've learned to value myself," I said, voice steady. "Boundaries aren't walls. They're doors I choose to open." We talked late into the night, laughter mixing with tears, rebuilding on firmer ground. Driving home under starry skies, a peace settled over me. Not perfect, but real. My memoirs found a small publisher. The book launch was a modest affair in the community center. Friends from the group attended, Eleanor beaming as I read excerpts. "From sacrificial mother to self-assured woman," I concluded, the words resonating. Sales were humble, but letters came. Your story gave me courage to set boundaries with my own children. Each one affirmed my journey. Spring brought renewal. I joined a senior travel club, venturing to Italy. Cobblestone streets, gelato's creamy sweetness, the ancient Colosseum standing defiant against time. Alone yet not lonely, I journaled under cafe awnings, rain pattering like old memories. Jacob and I grew closer, cautiously. Family dinners became regular, Lily's giggles a healing balm. Jacob repaid the settlement steadily, but more importantly, respect bloomed. "Proud of you, Mom," he said during one visit, hugging me tightly. Summer unfolded like a gentle promise, days lengthening with possibility. My condo garden flourished, tomatoes ripening red under the sun, herbs scenting the air with basil and mint. Writing became a passion. A second book brewed, stories of resilience drawn from the support group. One golden afternoon, as I sipped lemonade on the porch, watching sailboats dot the lake, a call came from an elder advocacy organization. "Your memoirs inspired us," the director said. "Would you speak at our conference?" Nervous excitement bubbled. I agreed, preparing notes that wove my tale with lessons learned. The event was in Chicago, a bustling hall filled with attentive faces. Standing at the podium, lights warm on my skin, I shared. Betrayal by those we love cuts deepest, but it can forge us anew. Applause echoed, connections formed, new friends, new purposes. Home again, I reflected on the arc of my life. From widowhood's despair to this vibrant chapter, each step a testament to human resilience. Jacob's family visited often now, the house no longer a symbol of loss, but a neutral ground. Lily planted flowers in my garden, her small hands patting soil, giggling at earthworms. In quiet moments, I'd sit by the lake at dusk, water lapping softly, breeze carrying whispers of Harold. "You did good, Miriam," I'd imagine him saying. Healing isn't a destination, it's the journey of rediscovering one's worth. And in that rediscovery, joy awaits, not in grand gestures, but in the simple act of living for oneself. Sometimes, healing isn't about forgetting who hurt you. It's about remembering who you were before the hurt and embracing who you've become after. As the applause faded at the conference in Chicago, I lingered in the hall, shaking hands with strangers who felt like kindred spirits. Their stories mirrored mine. Sons and daughters who had taken, parents who had given until hollow. One woman, Clara, with silver-streaked hair and a voice like weathered silk, pulled me aside. "Your book saved me from signing over my farm," she whispered, her eyes misting. We exchanged numbers, promising coffee if I ever visited her small town in Wisconsin. Back in my condo, the lake shimmering under a harvest moon, I unpacked my suitcase, the faint scent of hotel soap clinging to my clothes. The memoirs sat on my nightstand, a tangible reminder of my rebirth. But that night, sleep evaded me. A nagging unease stirred, like a distant thunder rumble. Jacob's apologies during our reconciliation dinner replayed in my mind, sincere, yet something in his eyes had flickered, a shadow I couldn't place. The next morning, sipping coffee on the porch, my phone buzzed. It was Eleanor. "Miriam, you won't believe this. I heard from a friend in your old neighborhood, rumors about Jacob selling the house." My cup paused midair, steam curling like question marks. Selling? We hadn't discussed that. The settlement was still being paid in installments. The house was a symbol, even if no longer mine. I called Jacob, my voice steady despite the pulse quickening in my throat. "Hey, Mom," he answered, background noise of Lily's laughter and Emily's soft humming. "What's up?" "Just checking in. Heard something odd." "About the house?" "Oh, that. Yeah, we're thinking about it. Bigger place, better schools for Lily." His tone was casual, but I detected a strain, like a string pulled taut. "Thinking or doing?" I pressed, my free hand gripping the railing, wood smooth under my fingers. "Early stages, Mom, don't worry." He changed the subject to Lily's latest milestone, but the conversation ended abruptly, leaving me staring at the phone, a knot forming in my stomach. Dr. Ellis noticed my distraction in our next session. The office smelled of lavender from her diffuser, a calming contrast to my turmoil. "What's stirring this up, Miriam?" "I feel like there's more he's not saying." I recounted the call, the rumor. After everything, why the secrecy? She nodded thoughtfully. "Trust your instincts. Patterns don't change overnight."
Emboldened, I drove to the old neighborhood that weekend, autumn leaves crunching underfoot as I parked a block away. The house looked the same, white shutters gleaming, porch swings swaying gently. but a for sale sign staked in the yard stopped me cold. My breath caught, a chill unrelated to the breeze. Why hadn't he told me? Hiding behind a tree, its bark rough against my palm, I watched as a realtor arrived, clipboard in hand. Jacob emerged, shaking hands, his laugh carrying on the wind. Emily joined them, Lily on her hip. They toured the yard, pointing at features I'd helped fund, the fence, the garden beds. My room's window caught the light, now someone else's space. Heart pounding, I slipped away, question swirling. Was this revenge for the lawsuit, or something deeper? Back home, I pored over the settlement papers, the ink faded but binding. No clause prevented selling, but the deception stung anew. That evening, a voicemail from an unknown number. "Mrs. Hayes, this is Tom from Elder Care Services. We received an anonymous tip about your well-being, concerned about isolation." Isolation? I lived vibrantly now. Travels, groups, writing. Who would report that? Suspicion pointed to Jacob. Was he rebuilding those rumors, painting me unstable to justify his actions? I confided in the support group, their faces illuminated by the community center's fluorescent lights. "Sounds like gaslighting," one member said, passing around cookies that tasted suddenly bitter. Eleanor suggested digging deeper. Check public records. Houses for sale leave trails. At the library, fingers flying over the keyboard, I found the listing, asking price far above what I'd contributed, photos showcasing renovations I'd unknowingly funded through those extras. But buried in the details, a lien. Financial trouble? My mind raced. Had Jacob been hiding debts? The curiosity gnawed, a persistent itch. I confronted him over dinner at a neutral cafe, the clink of silverware punctuating our words. Why the sale? And the anonymous call? His eyes widened, fork hovering. "What call? Mom, you're paranoid." But his denial rang hollow, sweat beading on his brow despite the cool air. As I left, a glance back showed him on his phone, urgent whispers. What was he hiding? Days blurred into a haze of investigation. I couldn't shake the feeling that Jacob's world was fracturing, pulling me into the cracks. Mornings found me at my desk, sunlight filtering through blinds, casting striped shadows like prison bars. I searched online, property records, credit hints, nothing concrete. But forms whispered of families in debt, selling assets to stay afloat. A package arrived anonymously, postmarked from town. Inside, a stack of photocopied bank statements. Not mine, Jacob's. Overdrafts, loans, credit card maxes. My hands trembled, paper rustling. Gambling? Investments gone wrong? The numbers danced accusingly, withdrawals coinciding with my help requests. Who sent this? Friend? Enemy? The envelope sent, faint cologne, stirred a vague memory. I tucked it away, heart racing. Therapy became a lifeline. This could be manipulation again, Dr. Ellis warned, her pen tapping rhythmically, or a cry for help. Proceed carefully. I joined an online forum for parental estrangement, pseudonyms shielding vulnerabilities. Posts echoed my suspicions. Children hiding addictions, using guilt to extract funds. One story chilled me. A son faking reconciliation to secure more money before vanishing. Was Jacob capable? Memories clashed. His childhood sweetness versus recent coldness. Curiosity propelled me. I hired a private investigator. Discreetly. Just background, I told him. The office dim with drawn shades, coffee stale and styrofoam. Weeks later, his report arrived via encrypted email. Jacob's job, stable on surface, had layoffs looming. Emily's library position cut hours, but deeper, visits to a casino, irregular patterns, and a name, Victor Lang, a loan shark type, connected to shady dealings. The pieces fit uneasily. Had my money fueled a habit? The betrayal deepened, layers peeling like onion skins, each revealing sharper sting. Confrontation loomed. I invited them over, baking Lily's favorite cookies, vanilla wafting warmly. They arrived, Jacob tense, Emily subdued. Lily played with blocks, oblivious. Over tea, steam rising like veils, I laid out the statements. Explain this. Jacob paled, cup clattering. Where did you get these? Does it matter? What's going on? He confessed haltingly. Bad investments, then gambling to recover. I thought I could fix it. The house sale to pay debts. Emily wept silently. We didn't want to burden you again. Irony twisted my gut. Burden? The word he'd hurled at me? But pity mingled with anger. You used me. I'm sorry, Mom. Help us one last time? His plea hung, desperate. I hesitated, the room thick with emotion. Boundaries screamed no, but maternal instinct wavered. That night, alone, a knock startled me. Opening the door revealed a stranger, tall, shadowed. Mrs. Hayes? About your son. Fear spiked. Who was he? What did he want? The man at my door introduced himself as Victor Lang, his voice gravelly, eyes sharp under bushy brows. The porch light cast elongated shadows, the lake's distant lap amplifying the night's quiet. May I come in? He asked, but it felt less request, more demand. Wary, I stepped aside, hand near my phone. The living room felt smaller with him in it, his cologne overpowering, the same from the envelope. He sat, leather jacket creaking, and cut to the chase. Jacob owes me money. A lot. He's using you as collateral. Said you'd bail him out. My breath hitched. Collateral? The word echoed, cold and final. I won't. Victor's smile was thin, devoid of warmth. He thought otherwise. Mentioned your settlement. He slid a photo across the table, me at the conference, unaware. Nice speech. Stalked? The realization chilled me. How deep did this go? After he left with veiled threats of consequences, I bolted the door, heart thundering. Sleep fled. Dawn found me researching Lang, online traces of shady loans, whispers of intimidation. I called the police, voice steady despite fear. Possible harassment. They noted it, but without action, little help. Eleanor arrived, concerned. This is dangerous, Miriam. We pored over options. Restraining order, alerting Jacob. But curiosity burned. Was Jacob complicit in sending Lang, or victim? I met Jacob secretly at a park, leaves swirling in wind tunnels. Benches cold. He looked haggard, eyes darting. Mom, Lang is pressuring me. I messed up bad. Tell me everything. His story spilled. Started with stocks, then poker apps, escalating to casinos. Lang loaned when banks refused. I told him about you to buy time. Anger flared. You dragged me in? I didn't think he'd contact you. Desperation etched his face. But doubt lingered. His eyes shifted. Lie? We parted uneasily, promises of no more secrets. Homeward, I noticed a car tailing, headlights piercing dusk. Paranoia or real? That night, a break-in attempt. Window jimmied, alarm blaring. Police came, found footprints. Lang's doing? Suspense coiled tighter. Who could I trust?
All allies emerged from unexpected corners. Clara, from the conference, called. Heard about your troubles. Small world. My brother dealt with loan sharks. Advice? We met virtually, her farm backdrop cozy. Document everything, get a lawyer involved, elder abuse angle. My original attorney agreed, filing for protection. We'll trace the debts. Meanwhile, the support group rallied, security tips, check-ins. Eleanor stayed over, her presence comforting, late-night talks over herbal tea, steam soothing frayed nerves. But curiosity drove deeper dives. I visited the casino discreetly, dim lights pulsing, slot machines chiming discordantly. A bartender, after a tip, remembered Jacob, came with a buddy, slick guy, always winning. Buddy? New player? Photos from security? No luck, but seeds planted. Jacob called, frantic. Help, Mom. Boundaries held. Get professional help. Addiction counseling. He hung up angry, then silence, days without contact. Worry gnawed. Emily texted. Jacob is missing. Left a note. Handling things. Missing? Heart clenched. Police? Or trap? Searching his social media revealed cryptic posts, hints of travel. Curiosity piqued. Fleeing? Or worse? A lead, the buddy, named in casino whispers. Alex, former colleague. Tracked via LinkedIn, we met at a diner. Formica table sticky, coffee bitter. Jacob got in deep, Alex admitted, glancing around. I introduced him to Lang, regret it now. Heard Jacob's planning to skip town, using house sale proceeds. Betrayal renewed. Skipping with my money? But Alex slipped me a USB. Proof. Emails. Transactions. Home, plugging it in, screen glowing eerily, revealed horrors. Jacob embezzling from work, Lang's cut, and messages to Emily. Tell Mom whatever. Need more cash. Setup? Or truth? Sirens outside. False alarm. But tension mounted. Who was pulling strings? The USB's contents unraveled everything. Emails showed Jacob's scheme. Manipulate reconciliation, extract settlement, then sell and flee. Emily complicit? One message. She'll cave. Guilt's her weakness. Tears burned, but resolve hardened. I forwarded to police, attorney. Lang reappeared, this time at my door with cops, arrested for harassment. My documentation key. You messed with the wrong mom, I whispered as he was cuffed. Jacob surfaced, calling from unknown number. Mom, it's a misunderstanding. No more lies, I recorded, voice calm. Turn yourself in. He begged, but I hung up, hands shaking. Emily arrived sobbing, Lily in tow. He forced me, but eyes betrayed, hesitation. Truth emerged in mediation redux, embezzlement charges pending, house sale frozen. Jacob arrested at the airport, bag packed. Court revealed all. Addiction, deceit, my money laundered. Pain peaked, but catharsis followed. Why? I asked in visitation, glass separating us. Greed, fear. His tears genuine now. Forgiveness, distant. But pity stirred. With Jacob incarcerated, Emily and Lily moved in temporarily, boundaries set. Therapy for all, mending fractures. I wrote a sequel memoir, sales soaring, travels resumed, Europe's cobblestones echoing new steps. Yet curiosity lingered. Hidden accounts? More accomplices? One letter from prison. Mom, there's more. A safe deposit box? What secrets remained? Sometimes the deepest betrayals birth the strongest selves, and in that strength, questions become quests. The envelope arrived on a Tuesday, plain white, no return address, postmarked from the county jail.
My name was typed in block letters, M. Hayes. Inside, a single sheet of prison stationery, Jacob's handwriting shaky but unmistakable. Mom, I know I don't deserve this, but there's a key. First National Bank, Branch 17, Box 412. Don't go alone. Tell no one. I'm sorry. J. No explanation, no plea for forgiveness, just coordinates to a secret I hadn't known existed. I sat at the kitchen table, the lake outside glittering like broken glass under a pale winter sun. The key was taped to the bottom of the page, heavy brass, teeth worn smooth. My fingers traced its edges, feeling the grooves like braille spelling danger. Dr. Ellis warned me the next day, her office warmer than usual, the radiator hissing like a warning. You've rebuilt your life on truth, Miriam. Secrets are poison, but curiosity, sharp, relentless, had already sunk its hooks. I didn't tell Eleanor. I didn't tell the police. I told myself, just look, then decide. First National Bank Branch 17 sat in a tired strip mall between a laundromat and a payday lender. The lobby smelled of industrial cleaner and burnt coffee. I signed in as M. Hayes, authorized signer, flashing Jacob's notarized letter from the jail. The clerk, a young man with a name tag reading Kevin, led me down a narrow hallway to the vault. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like trapped insects. Box 412 was waist high. Kevin inserted the bank's master key, then stepped back. Take your time, ma'am. The lid lifted with a soft thunk. Inside, a velvet pouch heavy with gold coins, Krugerrands, maybe 20. A flash drive labeled in Sharpie, insurance. A spiral notebook, pages warped from humidity. And a photograph, me, asleep on the porch of the old house, taken from inside through the screen door. Date stamped, 3 years ago. My breath fogged in the chilled air. Someone had been watching me, long before the locks changed. I closed the box, heart hammering, and asked Kevin for a private room. He led me to a cubicle with a flickering bulb and a metal chair. I locked the door. The notebook first. Pages of frantic scrawl. Jacob's handwriting, but not the son I knew. Dates, dollar amounts, names I didn't recognize. Then a list titled Mom's Schedule. Monday, school 7:30 to 3:30, grocery 4:15. Wednesday, therapy 11 a.m. Friday, support group 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. She never locks the back door. Below it was a sketch of my condo layout, bedroom window marked with an X. I felt the walls tilt. The flash drive. I borrowed Kevin's laptop. He hesitated, then agreed when I slipped him a 20. The drive opened to a folder, Project Clover. Inside, audio files, dozens labeled by date. Spreadsheets tracking my bank account fluctuations. Photos of me at the ATM, at the lake, at the mailbox. I clicked the earliest audio file. My own voice, tinny through keep recording. Jacob, I can send another 2,000, but this has to be the last. His reply muffled. You're a lifesaver, Mom. Love you. Then a second voice, male, low, amused. She's good for another 5 easy. Keep her scared about the baby's miracle bills. I recognized it. Victor Lang. But the next file was worse. Jacob's voice, alone, whispering to the recorder like a diary. If she ever finds out about Clover, she'll cut me off. Lang says we liquidate everything. House, her savings, the coins. Then we disappear. She'll think I'm dead. Easier that way. My knees buckled. I gripped the table, the metal cold under my palms. Project Clover wasn't debt repayment. It was identity theft. They've been siphoning my retirement, opening credit lines in my name, planning to drain me dry and vanish. The gold coins? Seed money for a new life in Costa Rica. Lang had bragged about it in one file. I ejected the drive, hands trembling so badly the velvet pouch spilled. A coin rolled across the floor, clinking like a gunshot in the silence. Kevin knocked. "Everything okay, ma'am?" "Fine," I lied, voice paper thin. "Just emotional." I left the bank in a daze, the key now burning in my pocket like a coal. Snow had started, fat, silent flakes that melted on my cheeks, undistinguishable from tears.
That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at my desk, the flash drive glowing like a tiny blue eye. The notebook lay open, its pages a map of my violation. I made copies, 3 USB drives, one mailed to my attorney, one to Detective Ruiz, the officer handling Lang's case, one hidden in a hollowed-out book on my shelf. Boundaries by Henry Cloud. Ironic. At 2:17 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered, voice steady from sheer exhaustion. "Mrs. Hayes?" A woman, young, scared. "It's Emily." Silence stretched. I could hear Lily crying in the background. "I know about the box," she whispered. "Jacob told me everything before they took him. He said if anything happened to him, I should burn it. But I can't. I won't." "Where are you?" "A motel off Route 9, room 12. Please come. I'm afraid of Lang's people." I hesitated. Trust was a shattered thing. But Lily's sob cut through the line like a blade. "I'll be there in 30 minutes. I packed a go bag, pepper spray, cash, the original key, a voice recorder. Eleanor's spare key was on my ring. She'd kill me for going alone. But some risks you take solo. The motel was a neon scar against the snow. Room 12's curtains twitched as I approached. Emily opened the door a crack, chain still on, eyes swollen. Lily slept on the bed, thumb in mouth, a bruise blooming on her tiny forearm. My stomach lurched. Did he? No, she fell. But Jacob? He's not the same, Miriam. The gambling, the lies, he's in too deep. Lang owns him now. She handed me a second key, smaller, silver. Safe deposit. In his name. Different bank. He said it's the real insurance. Whatever's in there, it's why Lang won't let him rot in jail. I took the key. Our fingers brushed. Hers, ice cold. "Why tell me?" I asked. "Because Lily deserves better than a father who'd fake his own death and leave her with nothing." Her voice broke. "And because you're the only one who ever fought for us, even when we didn't deserve it." We sat in silence, snow piling against the window like a silent witness. At dawn, I drove to the second bank, Community Trust, a glass building downtown. Emily waited in the car with Lily, engine running. Box 88. The clerk here was older, suspicious. I showed Jacob's power of attorney, forged but notarized in jail.
She relented. Inside, a passport in my name, photo of a woman who looked like me, but younger, eyes vacant, birth certificates, mine, Jacob's, and a third, Clover Marie Hayes, born the year I turned 50. A life insurance policy on me, $500,000, beneficiary, Jacob Hayes, and a letter, sealed, addressed to whoever finds this. I broke the seal with shaking fingers. If you're reading this, I'm either dead or gone. Mom, I never wanted it to go this far. Lang promised we'd pay you back. Then the debts grew. He said the only way out was to make you disappear, quietly. An accident. The policy would cover everything. I couldn't. I tried to stop it. The passport was plan B. New identities. Costa Rica. Clover was supposed to be Emily's new name. Burn this. Save yourself. I'm sorry doesn't cover it. J. My knees gave out. I sat on the vault floor, the cold tile seeping through my coat. They'd planned to kill me. Stage an accident, collect, vanish. The clerk found me there, tears frozen on my cheeks. Ma'am, are you hurt? I stood, pocketing everything. No, I said, voice like gravel. Just waking up. Detective Ruiz met me at the station, coffee steaming in paper cups. I laid it all out. Keys, drives, the letter. Emily gave a full statement, immunity in exchange for testimony. Lily was placed with social services temporarily, safe. Jacob was moved to protective custody. When I visited, plexiglass between us, he looked small. You were going to kill me, I said, not a question. He wouldn't meet my eyes. He said it was the only way. I swear I backed out. That's why I sent the first key, to warn you. Too late. The trial was swift. Lang took the fall, murder for hire conspiracy, fraud, extortion. Jacob got 15 years, eligible for parole and 8 with rehab. Emily kept Lily, moved in with her sister, started counseling. I sold the condo. Too many ghosts. Bought a small cabin up north, pines whispering secrets to the lake. The gold coins funded a foundation, the Clover Project, helping elders rebuild after financial abuse. My third book, The Key I Never Asked For, became a bestseller. One spring day, a letter arrived. No return address, but the handwriting was Jacob's from prison. Mom, I see Lily every weekend. She calls me Daddy again. I'm clean, for real this time. There's one more thing. Under the porch of the old house, the one you paid for, there's a loose brick, third from the left. I hid something there before everything went to hell. It's yours. Always was. Forgive me if you can. J. I drove to the house, now owned by a young couple, swing on the porch, flowers in my old garden beds. They let me look, curious but kind. The brick lifted easily. Inside, a tin box, rusted, wrapped in plastic. My hands shook as I opened it. A child's drawing, crayon stick figures, Me, Jacob, Harold. On the back, in wobbly letters, to Mommy, I love you forever, Jacob, age 6. And beneath it, a single gold locket, the one I'd lost the year Harold died. Inside, a photo of baby Jacob, toothless grin. I sat on the porch steps, locket warm in my palm, and cried, not for the betrayal, but for the boy who had once loved me without condition. Some doors, once locked, can never fully open again. But sometimes, a key from the past reminds you the house was never the home. The love was. And some of it, buried deep, survives even the darkest winters.